Hello fellow crafters and welcome to Stamping with me, Diane, at DianneRichardsonCraft. The card we're going to be making today is the one that you see here. It's got a color combination of Rococo Rose as the background card. I've layered on top of that a second layer of Rococo Rose, and actually while I'm holding this up you might notice the embossing on the background, and that is using the Scripty embossing folder. The colors that I've used for stamping are quite simple. It's literally just one color. I've used Flirty Flamingo, which I thought was quite a good contrast with the Rococo Rose. And to lift some of the color in the background of this Perennial Essence Designer Series paper, I wanted to pull out the contrast of that green. So I decided to use Mossy Meadow. And that's the Mossy Meadow contrast you can see on the sprig leaves. So putting that aside, the two stamp sets that you will need to make this card is you will need the Daisy Lane stamp set. I've used both the large daisy and the smaller daisy. And the second set I've used is the Accented Blooms. And I've used it specifically because I wanted to use the thank you sentiment. You might decide that you want to make a card using the hello sentiment or any other sentiments that you might have. Coming back to Daisy Lane, you could also have the choice of using just friend or smile or some of the other words that are there. To save time, what I've done is I've pre-cut the paper, and this is a standard card size, which typically is one A4 sheet that is cut in half and then folded down the middle. So that gives you the standard size. I've cut the next layer of Rococo Rose to be a size measuring 14.5 centimeters on the length by 10 centimeters in the vertical direction. If I lift that a little bit closer, and I'm just going to try and get the camera to focus and hopefully get a touch of light on that, you will see that the script on the background has actually been created by running that piece of paper through this Scripty embossing folder. So I've pre-done those. Let's just glue these two layers together. So if I just apply a little bit of multi-purpose glue, and that's actually more than sufficient. Let's just stick that one on, get that in position. There we go. So that's the first layer. I've pre-cut the strip of designer paper, and this designer paper measures 15 centimeters by 4 centimeters. So let's just add that or glue that on. Just added that, and I'm placing this roughly in the middle of the card. You will notice that there might be a very slight overhang on the edge, and if that is the case, all I do is typically flip the card with the inside of it showing, and I just literally snip off that end using a snips. So there we go, the base of the card all done. Before I continue, I'm going to put in this section on the inside, so that allows you to be able to write clearly in the card, and white always is a great background for any ink when you're working with colored cardstock like that. So this I have measured to be 12.5 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So again, let's just add a little bit of multi-purpose glue to that, and then we can stick that on the inside of our card. Whoop, one stray little dimensional there. So there we go. Excellent. So now we've got the center already glued in as well. Next thing I've done is I have stamped out 2 large daisies, and then I've also stamped out 2 smaller daisies. And as I said, the ink that I used for that is Flirty Flamingo. So now that I've stamped those and punched them out, the punches that I've used are the large daisy punch and the smaller punch. And both of these are available for purchase in my online shop. So taking the first daisy, we're now going to layer these up on the outside. I never actually glue all the petals. I just literally add a little bit of glue on the center of that daisy, and I'm going to position it slightly towards the top of that designer paper, and I layer on one of the large daisies, and then I glue again just the center, and I layer the second one, there we are, at an angle to the first one that was glued on, so that I can actually fill in all the gaps. And the great thing with a multi-purpose glue is its maneuverability, so it gives you the chance to actually fiddle before you actually then let that set. Let's use the sprig punch now to punch out 2 leaves. So if we just punch out one of those, and let's punch out a second one. There we go. You can add as many leaves as you want to. I've decided to actually use 2 because I think that just adds a little bit of color both at the top and at the bottom. And I'm just adding tiny little bits of glue. I'm not gluing the whole leaf, and I'm going to slide this in probably about there. And if I then take the second leaf, let's actually just add a little bit of glue to this. There we go. Not too much because we don't want it oozing out. And I'm going to add this one probably in this bottom section there. There we go. So you can arrange those leaves wherever you want to see them poking out. And now the last step for the front of that is I'm going to just add one of the small daisies that we pre-punched. So again, a little bit of glue just in the center, and you'll notice that yellow in the center has been colored in, and that's been done using the blend pen that I referred to. I've used Daffodil Delight. You can use a light one, or you can actually use a dark one. And because I like to also just add a little bit of depth and character to the inside of my cards, I've punched out another small one, colored that in, and I'm going to just pop that down in the bottom right corner on the inside of the card. So last step is actually just the sentiment. And remember I said that I've used the accented blooms thank you. I've stamped that out in Flirty Flamingo, and I've used the label punch to actually cut that out. It fits exactly. I want to add a little bit of depth to that, so I'm going to just pop on some dimensional foam pads, and that will then help lift this and just give me a little bit of depth. And I think we'll place it about there. So if you like adding a little bit of bling, some of the embellishments, one of these are really pretty just to act as a center to the daisy. So what I'm going to do is pop it on top of that yellow. There's just a tiny bit of yellow peeping out around the edge there, as you can see. And my goodness, it's as quick and as simple as that. Card done. I really hope you've enjoyed that. I absolutely love this Daisy Lane bundle. It's obviously the stamp set, and you've got the option of purchasing either of the 2 punches, and it just makes life so quick and so easy. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.